Remember back in the day when you taught me to live and I taught you to pray. We went in the battle together, no matter the weather, we never delayed. You gave me commands, I always obeyed. I never let you go astray. I never thought I'd see the day that you would come and just betray me. Sick of playing silly games, you never loved me anyway. You should not have let me get away, cause now I'm moving for my prey. I'm bigger, I'm better, my mind is a weapon. I won't ever let up. You try to break me down and I'ma just get up. They ask me how I did it, I'ma just tell them I rose up. Survivor, fight for my life, coming back stronger, I will arise. I'm a survivor, fight for my life, coming back stronger, I will arise. Staring at you from afar, analyzing every scar, asking myself how we got here. Remember, this is who we are. I am not here for revenge. I did not come to make amends. Not here to repent for my sins. I just came here to win. I just came here to end. I just came here to fight. Show you everything you said I couldn't be. I became overnight. This for the blood, this is for the tears. This is for my pain and my plight. Two walked in, but only one of us is walking out of here tonight. I'm a survivor. For my life, coming back stronger, I will arise. I'm a survivor, fight for my life, coming back stronger, I will arise.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, motorsports fans. Good evening, racers watching this having just completed their Thursday night action. This is the first race of the Formula Ford Championship in the ANZ ESeries. I'm Liam Banks, and alongside me is Mitch. Mitch, how are you going tonight?
I've been looking forward to this all week. Since we started last week, I left on such a high, and I've done nothing but get excited about the first Formula Ford race of the season.
For those of you that weren't with us last week was the first race of the GT3 series, and it was an absolute corker. So do go back and watch that stream. I highly recommend it. It was our first round of the second season of the ANZ E-Series, so it was breaking new ground for us. First time we'd broadcasted together, and it was absolutely fantastic, and what a way to start, and we're looking to follow up with an even better sophomore effort this time round.
Yeah, some of the bugs that we had last week, we're hoping to not have this week. Some of the jitters gone, everything ironed out, and a nice professional broadcast.
Cool, professional. That's making a big claim, but we will do our absolute
maybe
best.
we'll use the word professional nice and loose. It's going to be doing a lot of work.
Yeah, well, we'll watch these professional drivers as they go about their business. If we're going to be using the word professional nice and loosely all night, we'll stick to it. Practice is just about to finish. They got about 30 seconds left to practice. They will get into 15 minutes of qualifying. In that time, they'll be able to set as many laps as they want. That will set our grid for the first race, a 20-minute heat followed by a 20-minute heat one, which will then go into the feature, which will be a invert top 10 race.
So the invert top 10 race, I love. And we talked about this last week, but I'm going to talk about it again. I love inverted feature races because it promotes overtaking as a skill and not just your ability to set like a blisteringly fast qualifying lap and then just drive away from the rest of the pack. And we saw like last week, it added so much entertainment value, and it really showed us which drivers can put those fast laps in and which drivers can really battle it out on track as well.
Yeah, and we've got 2 reverse grid top 10s. Both race 2 and race 3 are reverse grid top 10s, with race 2 being set after race 1. And I believe race 3 is going to be set at the end of race 2. All races 20 minutes. So you're going to get what you want to see twice, Mitch. So you're going to be very happy at the end tonight.
I'm already happy.
That's good to hear.
I'm already happy just to be here.
That's what I want to hear. Of course, we have a number of sponsors that make this make what we do here possible, and they are at the bottom left of your screen. So do please pay attention to that graphic at some point tonight when you can tear your eyes away from the racing, and do give our sponsors as much love and support as you can. And we are, of course, always after more sponsors. So if you're watching this and thinking, you know what, I want to see more of the same, do get in contact with the ANZ ESeries, and we will make something happen.
So, we've just started into our qualifying, and we are doing open qualifying format, which means that all of our drivers are out at the same time, vying for the same positions. And we've got, what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4... I think there's 5 million guys, and 4 of them are within, I don't know, like a second of each other.
Yeah, there's not much to choose between them, is there, at this point? It's about as tight as it can get, and I don't think that's going to change by the end of qualifying. Sean Doyle currently on top with the fastest lap. That's not a surprise because he's big into the Formula Fords. We've then got Brody Shepherd in 5th place. He's a big Formula Ford racer. Look for him to move up a bit. You think of the life of Colin Nixon, who's just fast in about pretty much everything he drives. A bit further down, I will note that you've got Ben Faulkner and Fitzroy Bowman. They're not actually driving Porsches in this Formula Ford race. They're set up ready to go with the safety car if we need it.
Oh, we've got a first little accident here in qualifying, and these guys were looking to start their. Did they just pull off track then, or was there a little incident that we missed?
There was an incident that we missed. I think it was just about at the caught it in the top of the screen. Might want to see if we can find that and bring that footage to you. Still trying to get used to the replay functionality. So here we go.
Oh, looks like we've looks like we might have missed that one. No, we'll take you back to live now.
So still 10 minutes left to qualifying, so anybody that was caught up in an incident has got plenty of time to make an improvement. We're watching Sean Doyle for now as he goes down the straight. We're using the Alton Park configuration with the chicane tonight. Chicane, one of the trickiest parts of the circuit. Watch for people to take off their tyres as they hit those viciously placed tyre bundles on the inside of both the entry and the exit. So if you try to take a little bit too much of that corner, you won't get just a time penalty, you will lose a good chunk of your car. So people are going to have to avoid those if they want to make the finish tonight. But also, the trick to being fast with that chicane is to get as close to those barriers as you can. So it's going to be one of the points to watch. How close do people dare get to that barrier? And if you watch the leaders, I guarantee you, as they start to feel more comfortable, they'll edge a little bit further away from that barrier, give themselves a little bit more space. But as they start to ramp up and really try and put pressure on the car behind or on the car ahead, or even break free from the car behind, they'll get closer and closer to that barrier, trying to search for extra lap time.
Now, I know we saw Sean Doyle get, was it a 126 in practice? And he's just finished his outlap, so this is... He's got his tyres warmed up now. We saw him get a little bit sideways earlier in the start. It could be cold tyres. It could just be him trying to get a little bit of extra heat into them. But this is his first hot lap of the qualifying session.
Yeah, he's absolutely the favourite going into this qualifying session based purely off the form he's shown in practice. Looks like he's got a nice clear track. Can't see anyone ahead of him, so he's got no reason not to post another 126 as Oliver Patterson goes fastest so far.
Is that all? And he's immediately pipped by Dennis Hancock with a 127. Just gets him out by less than 1/100th.
Yeah, really small margins here. That bodes well for getting some good racing.
Less than 1/10.
Less than 1/10. Bodes well for getting good racing, despite the relatively short numbers. The Formula Fords, they have a massive slipstream effect, which is going to help. And if we've got lap times within 1/10 of a second of each other throughout the field, that is going to lend itself to good racing, even with a relatively small field.
Look at that. There's 3/10 between the top three and 4/10 between what we've just had Brody Shepherd come in with the new fastest lap, and he's 4/10 ahead of Tim Vaughan.
Yeah, Brody Shepherd putting in an absolutely fantastic lap. Not quite into the 126s, not quite as fast as we saw in practice, but doing an excellent job there. Hard to see who's going to beat him at the moment. I don't see anyone absolutely on a screamer, although, of course, we're yet to see. There you go, Sean Doyle has put in the time, so that's a 27.6, and not nearly as fast as he was in practice, but look for those times to ramp up over the next 5 minutes.
Now, these guys are going to go again, so those fuel loads are going to come down. Oh, Sean Doyle getting a little bit sideways there, so that's going to hurt that lap time. I wonder if he'll need to reset. I'm curious to see what kind of fuel load that he's using. Have we got open setups for this or fixed setups for this series?
This is a fixed setup series. The only series in the ANZ ESeries that is open setup is the GT3s, just because GT3s open setups are quite common and the GT3 series is incredibly popular. It seems to be the series of choice for those that like an open setup, so we've gone with that for the GT3s, but everything else, people tend to jump in it for the racing, the NASCAR, the Formula Ford, and the Toyota GR86s. People like to jump in those, practice in the practice session, and then just go racing, because they're there for the reel-to-wheel racing rather than the ultimate lap times. So in those series, which includes obviously the one you're watching here tonight, we do run a closed setup.
So with these closed setups, it's going to mean that all the drivers have got their fuel loads locked, which means the more laps they're doing during this qualifying session, the faster their cars are going to be, and the difference is significant. We could be seeing, you know, a half second between the start of qualifying and the end of qualifying. So the longer these guys are out on track, and you know, as long as you don't have to reset your car, or even if you do have to reset your car, you're going to find yourself at a pretty significant disadvantage.
Yeah, it's certainly a small reward for those that are able to keep clean and stay on track. And much like in an F1 qualifying session or the qualifying session of most top tier motorsports, you're going to see the track ramp up. In iRacing, we get that a little bit less than you do in real life, but we are going to have those fuel loads drop, so we are going to see those times naturally getting quicker. So if somebody wants to pip Brody Shepherd and take pole position from him, the best time to do that is going to be right at the end of this session.
So I believe the track state's persistent as well, so while the cars are getting faster, so is the track. They're laying down this rubber, and the track is just going to get faster and faster and faster as we get through qualifying, from practice, qualifying, heats 1, 2, and 3. The track's going to ramp up, and I think towards the end of certainly race 3, we're going to be seeing potentially some of the fastest laps, and especially with Toe, it looks like people are pretty well separated across the race at the moment. We'll see if we can bring up just a gap and see if anyone is actually stuck in someone else's toe.
Look at that, Brody. Sorry to cut you off, Brody Shepherd just lowering the benchmark for absolutely everybody. A 127.072, and he's pipped straight away by Sean Doyle. A 127.035, just gets ahead of Brody Shepherd by 0.5 of a second. These two are the guys to watch.
I'm actually so excited about the gaps that we're seeing between these cars. So between Doyle and Shepherd, that's 0.03 and some change between these guys. And then 0.2 back, we've got Oliver Patterson. And then at 27.6, 27.7, 27.8, and 28.1. So in another 0.5, we have 5 more drivers now with Ryan Grubb coming in. This is going to be some tight racing, and I think the toe is worth that much. Like, it's got to be worth I don't know, 3, 4, 5 tenths in a lap.
Yeah, they do have quite a big toe effect in the Formula Ford, but you also don't want to get too close to a car going significantly slower than you. If you're one of these, Brody Shepherd's just got into the 1 minute 26. First man into the 1 minute 26 is 1:26.888. Let's see if when Sean Doyle crosses the line, whether he is able to match that and join him in that exclusive of clubs.
So we can see their sector times here on screen as well. So we've got 0.146 between Sean and Brody Shepherd. So Sean, I believe, is still in Sector 1 now. And we'll hopefully see that update in a second. Bonnie's last lap. That's where most of the time difference was between these two. He was 2 tenths down in Sector 1. And then they were just about even in the remaining half of a tenth in Sector 2, and half a tenth again in Sector 3 difference between them. So it looks like where Shepherd's making up this time is in Sector 1.
Yeah, Sector 1, a deceptively difficult sector. You got the first corner, Old Hall, and that's quite a challenging corner. It doesn't look it. It's one of those that to the untrained eye, if you don't,
isn't it? The camber falls away to the outside, and it's. You're right. It doesn't look like much, but it's a high speed, high commitment corner because it's off the back of that first straight. And as you're going around that corner and it's off camber, it's threatening to throw you off into the grass. So you just have to sort of turn in and trust that you've got your braking point and your turn-in point right. And then before you even know where your car's going to be, you've got to plant your boot down and commit towards the exit of the corner.
Yeah, and if you brave it, if you decide to risk a spin by trying to use every bit of track that is available to you, then you can gain lap time hand over fist. And I wouldn't be surprised if that is the difference that we saw between Shepherd and Doyle. I just saw Shepherd going off track on his latest lap, so he's not going to improve this time round. He's currently on a 1:26.721, so he did lower that initial benchmark that he used to get into the 1:26s, and he's been joined in the 26 club by Ben Miles and Sean Doyle. So Miles inserting himself between Shepherd and Doyle to make a delicious 26-second sandwich.
So let's have a look at a couple of the other drivers here. So Tim Vaughan is out on track at the moment, and it looks to me like he's threatening to come join them in the 1:26 club. He's only got to find less than a tenth and a half.
Yeah, he has. There's a bunch of drivers that don't need to find much time. Mainly Vaughan and Patterson, the two of them could make it a top 5 into the 1:26s. The others all a bit slower, so there's quite a distinctive gap there between Patterson and Hancock. Patterson on a 1:27.285 and Hancock at a 27.6. It's one of the largest gaps we've seen, and then down from Hancock, they're all fairly closely packed in, so you're almost seeing a 2-tier setup arise with the top 5 and then those outside of the top 5.
You know, and that's not too bad at all. Like, I think what's most important in these series is that we have someone for that you can come along and you can just find people of your pace to race with. Whether or not you're at the front, the mid, or the back of the pack, it doesn't matter. I think it's just important that we have races across a whole spectrum that really make these series fun for everybody. Like there is no I-rating limit as far as I'm aware.
No, there is no I rating limit. You can come in with as low an I rating as you want or as high an I rating as you want, and hopefully you can find someone your pace to race. And I'll tell you who's feeling confident right now, it's Brody Shepherd, because he is in the pits. He won't be setting another lap time in this qualifying session. Now, he said, Miles, Doyle, go beat that if you can.
And if I can just give a shout out to Shane Patterson in chat, who I believe is here supporting their son, Oliver.
Yeah, excellent to have your support here tonight. Got a few more drivers now in pit lane. Sean Doyle's pitted. He's not going to get another lap in. Oliver Patterson's pitted. Matthew Gerard's pitted. Carl Ridley, he's joined the server and he is in pit lane. Got another person entering pit lane. That's Ben Miles. So I think this might be our starting order for the race. Everybody coming in. I wonder if they all decided they just couldn't do better or if fuel was an issue.
I don't think we have... is there anyone left that can complete a lap? Because you don't get to finish the lap unless you can cross the line before we get 0.
I'm not sure where everybody is on track. There might be 1 or 2 able to finish the finish qualifying and get another lap in. But I think this will be our starting grid with Brodie Shepherd taking the inaugural pole position for the ANZ ESeries Formula Ford Championship.
It looks like Tim Vaughan is going to miss out on sneaking into that 126 club. We've got 10 seconds left.
Yeah, it came so close. Makes you wonder whether he got a toe on that lap or not, because a toe could have put him into the 1 minute 26s if he didn't get one on that lap.
And that makes all the difference as we cross the 0 second line at the end of qualifying. So let's have a look at our starting grid for this race.
Let's see if the graphic works today, or if we're going to get the hype cars like we did last time. There we go. We've got the Formula Fords. Brodie Shepherd on pole. Ben Miles alongside him on the front row. And we'll have the inside line into the first corner, I believe. Behind them, we've got Sean Doyle and Tim Vaughan on the second row. Making it an all-Vermilion Racing top four. Oliver Patterson and then Dennis Hancock alongside him in the first non-Vermilion Racing liveried car. Row 4 is Tyson Hanmer and Kyle Ridley, both very, very fast racers. It'll be interesting to see if they are able to make their way forward. Matthew Brunt in 9th place with Ryan Grubb alongside him, rounding out the top 10. We then got Jamie Christensen and Connor Nixon in 11th and 12th. Matthew Gerard and David Atkinson on the 7th row. And then
our lovely
at the back
safety
of the field,
car drivers.
These are the safety cars.
And I believe these gentlemen are also going to be taking care of race control for us tonight as well.
Yes, absolutely are. I can hear Ben Faulkner at the moment on the radio to the drivers, giving them the rules of the race and make sure that they don't do anything naughty. So just waiting for all of the cars to get onto the grid and waiting for Ben Faulkner to finish giving the drivers their briefing before the race. If you want to become a driver, of course, you can do that just by going to the ANZ ESeries website, signing up, and then you can get involved in any of our 4 series. You can choose to join for the year and get access to every single series for a low cost, or you can choose a series and join just for that one series. We also are going to be offering an endurance championship, so you can sign up for that separately or sign up for that as part of getting the yearly subscription. Who do you think is supposed to watch out for in this race, Mitch? Of course, we got Shepherd and Miles on the front row, so we'll rule those out. But who else are you looking for a little bit further down?
A little bit further down, I'd like to see Connor. I think we'll keep an eye on him during the race. I have a feeling Connor might be a bit of a mover. Do you remember how he did last week in the GTs?
Yeah, he was very, very, very entertaining to watch last week.
So hopefully, I believe Connor won, unless I'm mistaken. The last heat. So I feel like
he run the reverse grid race.
Yeah, he did. He certainly did. So I feel like Connor could be a man to watch here. Like the guy, we know that GT3s weren't his thing either, and the crazy man even made setup changes in the middle of the race. So I'll be really interested to see how after a couple of races he adapts to these Formula Fords.
Yeah, absolutely. You've called it well there. He was the man to watch last weekend, the most entertaining on track and very successful with it as well. So hopefully he can repeat that and get a top 10 or perhaps a top 5 or even a podium in the Formula Fords here. He's not got that many cars to get past, certainly a smaller grid than we had for the GT3s. So theoretically, he's got an easier job this time around. And the race has started. They're off. Good start from Brodie Shepherd, I believe, is in the lead there. Kind of hard to tell, not going to lie, with all the Vermilion Motorsports cars running the same livery. Ben Miles in second, Sean Doyle in third. Looks like Dennis Hancock's lost a couple of positions, fallen behind some more of those Vermilion Motorsports liveried cars. He's currently in what I believe is 8th place, trying to do quick maths to count the amount of cars in front of him. Going into the first corner, one by one already, although in 4th place, putting a lot of pressure on 3rd place. Here they go, side by side. Gonna have the inside heading into the chicane. No, Tuck's back in behind him, so as not to go for a move on the first lap that could jeopardize both of their races going forward.
Really tight
Now
by these
entering-
first four Vermilion boys here, already building up a little bit of a gap we're seeing.
Yeah, we called it out before the race that there was a bit of a gap in the qualifying times between the top 5 and those behind them. And I think what's happened is there's been a bit of battling behind them, and a couple of drivers that were fast, 5th and 6th, they've ended up dropping down a couple of positions, and that's what's caused this effect that we've got now, where the top 4 are absolutely streaking away with it, and they've already, I would suggest, broken the toe to the car in 5th place, which is going to make it really hard to catch them.
The toe is probably most effective. You only really start feeling the toe from about maybe 1.5 seconds back, but we're seeing a gap that's already more than 2.2 between Oliver Patterson and Tim Vaughan here. So we've got this little breakaway group right now that I don't know if you ever watch much riding, much long distance cycling, but yeah, we've got the peloton back here, and then our 4 breakaways.
Yeah,
I'll be
absolutely.
interested to see whether or not Oliver and Dennis and those behind are interested in battling for position, or whether or not they want to sort of work together to sort of maybe reel back in these front runners.
Yeah, and I'll just, that graphic on your screen for who's in what position is incorrect currently, so I'll just read out the correct positions for you. We have Brodie Shepherd, he's in first place, converting pole position into a race lead. Sean Doyle is in second. He was the main competitor for Shepherd in qualifying, and so it's proven in the race so far. Tim Vaughan is in third place. Ben Miles has dropped down 2 positions to find himself in 4th place and at the back of this lead pack. At the lead of the second pack is Tyson Hanmar. He's in 5th place with Oliver Patterson behind him and Carl Ridley giving chase. You then got Jamie Christensen, Dennis Hancock, Matthew Brunt, Ryan Grubb, Matthew Gerard, David Atkinson, and then Connor Nixon at the back, except for Orlando Black. So Connor Nixon not able to move forward like we thought he might so far. And this is Sean Doyle looking to take the lead from Brodie Shepherd. The man in second place gets a much better run out of the first corner. Let's see how that affects things going into the next corner. Side by side again, not willing to let Brodie Shepherd get away with it and have it his own way. Decided he's going to go side by side as often as he can. And this is going to become 3 wide in a second if they're not very careful, not leaving enough of a gap for Tim Vaughan to get involved. Brodie Shepherd still in the lead. Oh, no, he's gone wide, deep into the corner. Ben Miles up into second place from 4th in the space of 1 corner. Sean Doyle still in second place, and Tim Vaughan down into 4th place. But I think these positions are going to swap it and change every lap or two. Here they head into Hislop chicane, and they're back into single file. Shepherd, Doyle, Vaughan, Miles.
Now, speaking of Doyle, I believe we have Mama Doyle in chat as well, who must be absolutely screaming at her monitor right now as her son is leading this race so far.
Oh, lovely to have you on board, Mama Doyle. I remember seeing your name when I'd watch back the Aussie car series when I raced your son Sean Doyle a couple of seasons ago. Lovely to have you now as a spectator whilst we commentate this race for you and bring it to life as we watch your son in the lead of the race and doing a fantastic job to defend from Ben Miles behind him. Although I think it's about to get a lot harder at the end of the straight. Ben Miles looked to go for the inside.
Oh no, bit of a mistake back there.
Not able to save it. He's off the track. I think it's more than 1 car. Oh, there's a collision. Plowing into Ben Miles and making it even worse. That is surely race over for Ben Miles. And I just heard reports the safety car is coming out.
Alright, so that'll give us enough time to step back and have a bit of a look at what's happened here.
So let's see how this all started. Ben Miles getting it wrong with the chicane.
Just looks like a bit of stuff. Oh! And then just a straight up crash struck in the middle of the road with nowhere for him to go.
Yeah, so I think looks like Brodie Shepherd, the car that ended up on the grass. Ben Miles, the car that spun, and Jamie Christensen, the car that ploughed into him, I believe.
Now, what are we looking at in terms of repairs in this? Because that looked like maybe some terminal damage for a couple of those cars.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I'll see if I can get that information for you before they go racing once again.
It looks like Jamie Christensen might be out of this race. I can see they're sitting in the pits. I'll be interested to see whether or not we have repairs turned on or not for this series. Because otherwise, Jamie might be out of this one. And I believe he was on one coming around the back there that just sort of got strung out, right? The car's sitting on the exit of the corner right in front of him.
Yeah, he was the one that came across at Ben Miles facing the wrong direction and just had nowhere to go, plowed into the side of him. I do not know how Ben Miles has been able to continue with that car.
Well,
He's pulling into the pit lane, as is Brody Shepherd. So all 3 cars involved in that wreck, well, 3 of the 4 cars involved in that wreck, pulling into pit lane, one of them already there, Orlando Black, in the pit lane and not going anywhere, 3 laps down already. He is out of this race. Looks like they do have a fast repair because I can see them, they've stopped and they're immediately back out onto the track.
It looks like Jamie Christensen is out. If we have fast repairs, but for some reason he's decided that maybe this is it for him in this race.
Yeah, could have got a penalty of some description and he's waiting for that to clear. Or perhaps he's decided that I've had enough for this race. I'll get involved in the second heat and I'll just stay here for now. Not when you have an incident and you can sometimes lose your head. Sometimes the best thing to do is just sit in the pit lane. So it could be that, or it could be just waiting to clear a penalty. I would imagine that's what it is. Perhaps a unsafe entry pit lane. In fact, I can see him moving again. So he is rejoining the race. He'll be at the back. I believe he'll be on the lead lap. And so he'll be able to race those ahead of him.
He's got a little bit of catching up to do now to get back up to the back of this safety car.
And just hearing word of the incident will be investigated after the safety car.
After the safety car. Okay. So I guess we just don't know where this is all going to turn out until we know.
Yep. Yeah. Yep, you've hit it on the head there. We won't know until we know. I'll bring that information to you as soon as we hear it from our live race control. In race control tonight, Fitzroy Beaumont and Ben Faulkner doing the duties, and Ben Faulkner also.
And I believe we've got Orlando Black driving this beautiful liveried safety car as well.
Yeah, that was why I paused. I was just like, actually, I will check who is driving the safety car before I assume it's Ben Faulkner. I think you're right, it is Orlando
Black. His safety car's going in. He's broken away from the back. Let's jump back on board with Sean as we kick this race back off.
Sean leading the pack away. He'll want to make sure that they get as little of a run on him as he can. So he's controlling the speed of the pack. No one can overtake until they get to the start-finish line. Sean Doyle will decide when to put the hammer down to try to advantage himself. Usually that means either trying to catch the car behind you unawares when they're trying to warm up the tyres, or just waiting until the last possible moment so they cannot get a slipstream on you. And there's collision at the back there. Drivers not slowing down. They thought racing had begun. It would have been one of the drivers that's triggered that, and the others have gone in response to one of those. We'll have to try and get a replay and see what's happened there, but I think Brody Shepherd caught up in that incident, as has Tyson Hanmar. He's been caught up in that, and Oliver Patterson, I may have been caught up in that. Certainly Shepherd, it'd be Shepherd and Hanmar, just judging by the relatives and how far back they are from the rest of the field. Although Patterson and Atkinson have been involved in something, because I just saw Atkinson's name dropping down, and he's dropping off the back of the pack now behind Shepherd and behind Hanmar. So he's had a terminal incident or something that, yeah, still trying to get back onto track. So there's David Atkinson just doing some donuts in the grass. Quite a long way off the track, so he's had quite a high-speed shunt there. And let's bring you a replay of what happened.
Oh, looks like he might have been caught up at the start of that.
Yeah, looking like he's carrying some damage there, isn't he? He's not going at the speed we would expect. And is he going to have his own incident, perhaps trying to get the car around with that damage? Yeah, just look at the car behind and how fast it's catching him. He's having to go so slow to get around. Yeah,
yeah, maybe he's got a little bit of a steering damage there, because that looks like it's just a bit of a handful for him.
Yeah, it didn't look like it was misaligned. Couldn't see it crabbing, but that doesn't mean there wasn't any damage. I suspect there was a suspension damage there that got worse as he took that corner and put extra load onto the suspension.
So having a look at our race leaders again, we've got Sean Doyle leading Tim Vaughan with Kyle Ridley. The battle, he's still in the tow, and he's battling with Dennis Hancock behind him. But it looks like our front pack is starting to break away again.
Yeah, but this time it looks like it might be a smaller front pack with Sean Doyle and Tim Vaughan pulling away from Carl Ridley in third place. Not enough to break the tow yet, but another half second, and you got to imagine that tow is going to be gone for Carl Ridley and those looking to go with him, like Dennis Hancock and Matthew Brunt, who have made good moves up the field. Biggest moves at the moment include Matthew Gerard. He's up from 13th into 6th place. Connor Nixon's up from 12th into 7th. We said to watch out for him at the start of the race, and so it has proven. And then Carl Ridley up 4 spots from 8th to 4th. Be interesting to see what speed Dennis Hancock can produce, because he qualified in 6th place. He's currently in 3rd, and he's looking to currently in 4th, and he'll be looking to get past Carl Ridley if Carl Ridley is not able to stay with the lead 2. The other thing to keep an eye out for is that 10th position spot currently occupied by Oliver Patterson. He'll try to defend that from the likes of Brody Shepherd and Ryan Grubb behind him, because that is a pole position going into race 2 if he can keep hold to 10th place.
That's right. Right. That's going to be a prime position. I mean, obviously, Oliver wants to grab as many points as he can in this race. But I guess the consolation prize is that starting P1 is going to be pretty good. And Oliver, in qualifying, he had some pace.
Yeah, he really did. He was a quick driver looking to, I dare say he'll be looking to try and solidify that pole position, because he knows he'll be able to make good use of it in the next race, because he'll have slower drivers protecting him from the other drivers that were right up there in qualifying, because they've all had bad races, sans Sean Doyle. But Sean Doyle at this rate will be starting in 10th position for race 2, so 9 positions to make up if he wants to challenge Sean Doyle, wants to challenge Oliver Patterson for the victory in the next race.
And we've just heard from Race Control that there's an incident between cars 10 and cars 56 that's currently under investigation.
Yeah, Race Control busy tonight, that's for certain. Them not making it easy for them, I dare say. It'll be interesting to see what they make of the incidents we have seen so far. So car 56 has been given a 5-second penalty for not holding the brakes after spinning. Car 56 is, of course, judging by the graphic on the screen, Ben Miles.
That's Ben Miles, yeah. Was Ben the one that spun in corner at the start that caused the safety car?
Yes. Yes, he took a spin in that incident that we saw. So it was Ben Miles, I think, that instigated it, getting the spin in the middle of the first corner, which we called out before at the start of the broadcast as being a potentially dangerous corner. And then Brody Shepherd got caught up in that, as did Jamie Christensen, who ploughed into Ben Miles. So I think that punishment is for not putting on his brakes immediately as he started to spin, and instead trying to hold it onto it for as long as he did. Race Control are deliberately being very strict in this series, I will say. That is a feature, not a bug, if you think that is a little bit harsh. We want high driving standards in this series, because we want people to be able to come race and know they're going to get a clean race, and if it's not, to have confidence that the perpetrators will be punished. 5-second, pretty small penalty, one of the smallest that is on offer. So I don't think Ben Miles will be too worried about that. He'll be looking to try and build that gap, and that'll be applied to the race. So they won't be able to apply it in iRacing. So it will just affect his finish position for points in race 1 of tonight, after the points are calculated.
Which, just to clarify, means that as we go into reverse grid, their starting positions will not be affected by any penalties that they receive.
No, they absolutely will not. We don't have the functionality to be able to implement that in iRacing currently, so they have to be implemented manually after the race. Of course, that is different if you get an iRacing penalty, which you can get for cutting corners, crashing into other cars, etc. Generally, crashing doesn't get you one alone, only if you rank up a specific number of incident points will that result in a time penalty, but you can get a time penalty for things like incorrect procedure behind the safety car, or most commonly speeding in and out of the pit lane. So we're just watching a battle on screen here. Dennis Hancock, he's in 4th place, trying to hold Matthew Brunt behind him, so not able to go with Carl Ridley, who's also not able to catch the leading 2 of Sean Doyle and Tim Vaughan. Tim Vaughan with the fastest lap at the moment. So Matthew Brunt's showing some pace that he didn't show in qualifying by challenging Dennis Hancock. Good to see him improving. He's definitely going to be a threat going into the second race, as he'll have a decent grid slot, potentially a top 5 grid slot if he's not able to get past Dennis Hancock in that black and orange car.
I guess one of the things that I like about the delayed penalties is it means that you're not punished excessively for mistakes that you make. You know, on balance, you're still going to lose those points, but you don't necessarily put yourself out for subsequent races. You don't. Like in a close grid, for example, a last-minute safety car and a 5-second penalty could send you tumbling right down the bottom of the order.
Yeah, it really could send you tumbling down the order. And it's... Yeah, what it does is it makes the effect of the penalty a bit more controlled, I think. Because particularly in this series that we've got with the 3 heat races where you've got 2 reverse grids, that 5 seconds, yeah, you'd get a worse position in grid 1, but you're rewarded with a better position in grid 2 for race 2. So it partially negates itself if you were to apply it in server. By applying it outside of the server, you make sure that they don't accidentally get a benefit for the following races where reverse grids are utilized.
This battle for 4th here is really tight. We've got 3 drivers, all within what's this 0.3 They're just breathing down each other's necks here, and it actually looks like Matthew might have been looking for a move on the inside of that corner there.
Yeah, I think he's actually trying to defend for Jamie Christensen. Jamie Christensen with the fastest lap of the race so far. He's caught these two at an absolutely rapid pace, and now he's looking to go past them so that he can continue on with that pace. Gets him on the inside into the hairpin, and that is job done. 1 of 2. Time to go after Dennis Hancock.
Back here, he's gaining on him a little bit down this straight. You know, tucking nicely into the toe, like the double toe from these corners. You know, he might be sitting behind now, but he's going to be looking for any opportunity to get back in front. But he's just lost a little bit through that chicane there.
Oh, absolutely. No racing driver likes to be overtaken, regardless of the pace of the car behind. I think the only time it's acceptable is when you're in a multi-class series, and even then, I don't think they enjoy it. They just deal with it. Oh, here he goes. Jamie Christensen on the inside. That's bold. Is he going to get it done? Oh, there's contact.
Oh.
2 wheels on the grass. Manages to control it. Might have some front wing damage. We'll try and bring you a shot at the front of that car as soon as we are able to. No damage to the nose cone that I can see, so I think he's got away with that, but he has lost the position to Matthew Brunt. Got to do that hard work all over again, but thankfully we get to watch it again. And this time it's on the final lap. Not going to be much of a chance to come back. He's got the inside, going into the first corner, carrying so much more speed.
Oh, he
takes it cleanly.
Is Matthew just going to get this one back before the next corner?
He has got a little bit wide, and that has put Matthew Brunt alongside him, but he has got the inside line, so he'll be able to defend it. So now going down Lakeside, and next corner is the tight right-hand hairpin. It's not going to be close enough to make a move, neither Matthew Brunt or Christensen.
Now, we actually think we just missed a small little bit of overlap here for the lead with Sean and Tim Vaughan, where Tim briefly got in front of him for the smallest of margins before being immediately overtaken back by Sean.
Yeah, this battle for the lead, it's been there all race, and they weren't actively battling for most of the race. I think they were just wanting to make sure that they could break away from Carl Ridley. But on the last lap, now's the time to go for it if you're Tim Vaughan. And boy, is he going for it. He is going to do everything he can to get past Sean Doyle. Just look at the body language of the cars. He is moving left to right, trying to figure out which way he's going to go. He dives out to the left.
Sean nicely defending the inside there, but it's going to leave him vulnerable coming down the straight. Tim Vaughan just dropping a couple of wheels off, and it looks like Sean's going to take the first race here.
Yeah, Sean's going to take the victory here. What you saw there was Sean Doyle actually not putting the throttle down as early as he could out of the final corner because he noticed Tim Vaughan had taken such a wide entry that he was going to get a really good run on the exit unless he could do something to hold him up. So he just let off mid-corner. Tim Vaughan unable to use his extra momentum to get an overspeed out of the final corner, and from then on, Sean Doyle was always going to win that race after a masterful display at the front of the race. Helped a little bit by some of his main competitors at the start of the race taking themselves out. Looking at you, Ben Miles, Brody Shepherd, and then Jamie Christensen, also an unwilling participant in that carnage, and I mean having a great recovery up into 4th place. Look for him in the next race, and these are your results. So Sean Doyle takes the win. Tim Vaughan within half a second. Carl Ridley only 2 seconds back. Jamie Christensen, impressive recovery to get back up to 4th place. Dennis Hancock in 5th, falling down a little bit from his starting position. Matthew Brunt in 6th, pressuring Hancock but not able to get the move done on the final lap. Matthew Gerard in 7th, Patterson in 8th, Ryan Grubb in 9th, and Ben Miles in 10th after looking strong in the early stages. Connor Nixon not able to do much. He ends up in 11th place. He must have got caught up in an incident that we didn't see. David Atkinson in 12th, he got caught up in that incident. Shepherd caught up in an incident as well, so he's down 1 lap. And then Tyson Hanmar in 15th, and Orlando Black in... Tyson Hanmar in 14th, and Orlando Black in 15th, and the last of the classified runners.
I believe Orlando was our safety car.
Safety car. Of course he was. Of course he was the safety car. Thanks for the correction there, Mitch, who is doing a fantastic job considering not only is he providing his fantastic commentary, he is also producing and bringing you all our lovely camera angles, our replays. It's not an easy job, and we appreciate what you do, Mitch.
Oh, thank you very much. And let's just give a shout out to the Doyle family. It looks like Sean has actually brought home a win for his mother on her birthday. Is that right, chat? Could someone confirm that for me? We'll give Chad a minute to catch back up on this one. And looks like Mama Doyle's got some good words for Sean as well. She says, "Good on you, son. Job well done."
Yeah, it's lovely to see, isn't it? It's great. It's great how sim racing can bring your racing exploits into the living room so that your loved ones can watch without having to trek out to some racetrack in the middle of nowhere. And there you go, 70 today is what we believe. So 70 and good enough with technology to be able to watch the race, which is impressive because my nan definitely couldn't do that. And she's not that much older than 70. So I think Donna Doyle doing very well there to be able to watch her son. And I'm glad that she's enjoying herself on her birthday.
I can say quite comfortably that my nana couldn't operate YouTube, so...
Yeah, definitely not.
So she's definitely not out there watching at the moment. But unless I'm mistaken, I believe my partner and my dog are both watching from the comfort of my living room right now as well.
Oh, that's absolutely lovely. I'm sure your dog understands the complexities of motorsport and is just as invested in this race as we are, having watched it alongside you for, I imagine, a good while now.
No, he's not that old. He's only about 10 months old, and I haven't been able to properly explain the intricacies of racing. I mean, Border Collies are a smart breed, so maybe he's got a little bit to go yet, but we'll see if we can...
And the race has started. The race has started. We're bringing up footage as soon as we can. There's a two-car battle for the lead, looking to make it free. Going down the inside into the first corner is Oliver Patterson. Here we go. These are live pictures for you now. So, looks like Ben Mars has held on to the lead from his starting position on pole. We've then got Ryan Grubb in second with Patterson in third place. No meaningful gaps to speak of as yet because they've just started looking and going 2 by 2 through the hairpin. all of them being brave on the outside, but there's quite a bit of grip out there, so you can actually get a better run if you get it right. But that does leave you on the outside as you approach his lop chicane. You've got to want to be on the inside here. The outside is a dangerous place to be because you never know when that car on the inside is going to outbrake themselves or just go a little bit wide and not leave you enough room to get through the corner. But so far, so good. Everyone able to get through there.
It's good to see
Which,
a
I'll tell you
nice,
what, that's
clean
rare.
opening lap. Yeah, a couple of changes of position so far that we'll bring up, but so far, nice and clean. This is exactly what we want to see in our races.
Yeah, we can't afford to have another incident like we had last race, taking 4 of our main competitors out of the race. Look at Jamie Christensen. He started 7th. He's currently in 7th place. Brody Shepherd, he's making moves early on, up 5 places, up into 9th place after starting at the back of the grid. Tim Vaughan and Connor Nixon also movers. Connor Nixon not able to move forward in the last race, but doing a much better job of it already so far here. Christensen's up into 5th place after starting from 7th, and we saw how much pace he had. Look for him to try and pressure Brunt, Patterson, Grubb ahead. Ben Miles just getting a bit of a lead here, whilst Grubb, Patterson and Brunt out for 2nd and 3rd place. There it is, Grubb side by side with Patterson. Patterson not able to get past him though.
And it looks like we've had a little bit of an incident here with Connor Nixon. We'll see if we can bring up a replay of that now. But he's looking pretty tidy at the moment. No issues as he's come across the start-finish line.
He'll be into the first corner here. Look at him going 2 cars. Oh, just losing it by himself.
An unforced error, unfortunately, and that's got to be one of the worst ways to crash, I think, because it's nice to be able to blame someone else sometimes. The worst is when it's only your own fault.
Oh yeah, 100%. It always feels worse when you do it yourself because you just know that you could have done better. You expect better of yourself, particularly if you're someone of Connor Nixon's standard in a simulator. And yeah, he would not have enjoyed that. He'll look to rectify that when he gets out, I'm sure, for the GR86s tomorrow night, though. So back to live pictures. We've got some great battles brewing here. Battles with 2, 3, 4 cars. Look at these cars. Guys going down the straight. 2 cars there looking to make it 3 wide. Can they do it? No. So you've got Matthew Brunt just ahead of those. So this is Tim Vaughan and Ryan Grubb that we are watching behind them in a really tight battle. Matthew Brunt trying to put pressure onto Oliver Patterson and takes 2nd place. You can see Ben Miles getting away in front of him. He knows if he doesn't make that pass now, Miles may make the decisive break and just get free of that pack. Like you mentioned before, in bike racing, when you see an opportunity, you absolutely put the hammer down and you try to break the spirits of the riders behind. That's what's happening here. Ben Miles trying to break the spirits of Patterson and Brunt behind him. Brunt feeling the win slip away, and not only is he trying to get back to Patterson, but he sees Tim Vaughan and Jamie Christensen behind him. He knows how fast those guys are. He knows he can't afford to be overtaken by any of them, otherwise it's going to be really hard to get that position back.
And I will just say
So
quickly, I know while we're looking at this battle, Ben Miles looks like he's just running away with it. Look at the gap that he's got on these guys. Nearly 2 seconds within, what are we, lap 2? Or lap 3 are we on now?
Well, yeah, like I said, he's not having to worry about any cars around him. He can take the optimal racing line into each and every corner, and I guarantee you he's taking a little bit of extra risk right now to build that gap, because if he gets that gap out to 2.5 seconds, it's going to make it so hard for the cars around him to try and catch him up without the slipstream. Without Matthew Brunt losing position there. Is that 2? Is that 2 in one corner? What's the next corner? It's a left-hander, but he's going to have the inside line for the first corner. Can he turn it into 2 positions in as many corners? Yes, he's done it. That's Tim Vaughan. He's up into 2nd place. We know how fast he is. That is a big move for this race. He's now going to be able to go chase down Ben Miles.
He's going to have to be on the defensive here.
Yeah, he's going to have to defend from
Jamie's
Oliver
looking
Patterson.
for it, but the gap's not there. He's just a little bit too far back to be able to make that move. And all going off the road, but managing to keep it steady. Matthew Brunt, very brave. He must have kept his boot all the way in it, because it doesn't look like he's really lost any speed at all.
Yeah, I just heard from race control Dennis Hancock picking up a penalty for contact on lap 1. So that's not going to help Hancock's race. Currently in 8th place, and he'll be getting a penalty in addition to where he is now. And I'll just try and bring you what that penalty is. Just waiting for it to pop up in the race control chat that we have. It's drive-through penalty for Dennis Hancock. So that's going to be race 2 over and done for him. But he'll recharge and get back out in a competitive position for race 3. So there you go, Tim Vaughan getting on with the job of trying to chase down Ben Miles already, putting in the fastest lap of the race as he starts his pursuit.
And just received word, car number 822 does have a drive-through penalty. So that's for Dennis Hancock.
Yeah, so Tim Vaughan in second place trying to defend. So he's putting the fastest lap of the race, but he's not breaking away from Christensen and Patterson behind him by any means. They're just about able to go with him, but they're going to have to stop squabbling amongst themselves if they want to go with him. Now Brody Shepherd's putting the fastest lap of the race. He's currently in sixth place. That's him. You can see in the back of your screen looking to join into this 4-car battle for the podium positions. Do not rule him out at this early stage. 13.5 minutes to go in this 20-minute race, so plenty of time for positions to swap and change before we get to the final stanza of this race and begin the
Oh, it looks like
third chapter.
David Atkinson might be out of this race. It looks like he's just had to tow back.
Yeah, and I think there's been a collision between himself and perhaps Connor Nixon. I'm just trying to judge it based off the voices that I heard on the radio. I think it's Connor Nixon caught up in that, and indeed he is down behind Sean Doyle now, who has now got the fastest lap of the race. Safety car. We got a safety car coming out.
All right, we'll see if we can try and bring you a replay.
So this will be the reason for the safety car. So this is Christensen. I believe it's Connor. Oh, no, we're too late. So that's Christensen and Connor Nixon off the track. We'll see if we can bring you that from a little bit earlier on, so we can see how they ended up there. But that's the reason for the safety car. That's going to absolutely erase the lead that Ben Miles had over Tim Vaughan, and we saw how quick Tim Vaughan was, and he was catching before the safety car. So this is a gift for Vaughan, Christensen, Patterson, Brunt, Shepherd, who, because of field spread, ended up behind Ben Miles by a reasonable margin before the safety car. That's now been erased. They've got a brilliant opportunity to try and make some moves and get to the lead of this race or the podium, if not the victory.
You've got to be feeling bad for Ben Miles right now. He's done such a good job so far to build up such a big gap to those cars behind him, like that big group, and they just kept tripping over themselves in their, like, they're squabbling, and all the while Ben is just laughing to himself as he's driving away down the track.
Yeah, and I think that's a drive-through penalty for Connor Nixon, just confirming that he was at fault for that incident. We haven't seen it, but I will say that as soon as that incident occurred, Connor Nixon got on the radio and said, apologies, that was all me, race control, I'm ready for my punishment, basically. He did the equivalent of pleading guilty, which was good to hear. That's what I want to see. No one delusional there. Everybody knew what was going on.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that kind of accountability in drivers as well. It's a lot of maturity to just be able to throw your hands up and go, look, sorry, that's my fault. It's sort of just throw yourself at the mercy of the stewards. I think it shows a lot of maturity from Connor.
It is, and we're just getting some wave rounds for those cars that were a lap or more down. So Tyson Hanmer will find himself back on the lead lap of this race. I believe Orlando Black and Carl Ridley won't be on the lead lap, but they have gained a lap, so they'll be hoping for a couple more safety cars before the end to try and get them back into contention. And just go back to that point about the maturity, it shows you're absolutely right. And the thing is, you can't improve in anything that you do in life unless you admit that there is room for improvement, and that means admitting to mistakes. Connor Nixon's admitted to his mistake. That means he'll be able to look back at this and improve in the future to try and avoid the same thing happening going forward.
And Connor's just not... I know I said at the start that I thought he was going to be a big mover in this series, but this has just not been his race so far, has it?
Yeah, it's definitely not his car, is it? He said the GT3s aren't his car, and he still managed to win a race in them. But certainly Formula Fords are quite far outside of his comfort zone, as it's proved here. Seems to be struggling with the rear end of the car. Not much downforce on these, so they are quite oversteery compared to your tin tops, except for maybe the GR86, which you're going to see tomorrow night, which has a very oversteery balance. Most tin tops, they are biased towards understeer by default, whereas these Formula Fords, if you get it wrong, you are just a spinning top in these things. And it's the same with the Formula Vs, the other entry-level single-seater that we have on our racing platform, and I think that might be what has caught Connor Nixon out. It's a very different driving style. particularly when you don't have much downforce.
All mechanical grip on these cars. Like, that's all they have. There's no aero on these things at all. It's just 4 wheels, some rubber, and some tarmac. That's all that you've got.
And look at those wheels. They're not mighty wide wheels, are they? Let's face it. They look like something that you might see on a shopping cart.
You're right. There is not a lot of rubber, but these things are really light. Now, I'm pretty lucky. I've actually had a chance to drive one of these in real life, and they are quick and they are fast. And I know we're all a little bit jaded from iRacing because we've all driven GT3s, we've all driven the Formula cars, and they're all fast. So we look at these Formula 4s, we think, oh, they're a bit slow, but I can tell you, when you are in one of these things, they feel like rocket ships. They've got these 1.6 liter Ford Ecotec motors, but when the whole thing weighs like 450 kilos, let me tell you, that little 1.6 liters, it gets you moving really quick. And they don't need aero either. I think that's part of what makes the series so good, is it makes it brings down the skill gap between drivers a little bit more because the tow is so strong and following is so easy because you don't have to rely on any aero. It really just comes down to drivers' skill, and that's why we get so many good battles. And like we've seen it in this race, with drivers continually following, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 seconds behind one another, or big groups of drivers, all between half a second. And I say this as the safety car looks like it's heading off and we're about to start this race back off again.
Yeah, so Ben Miles now taking control of this grid for the second time in this race. He did a really good job first time round to try and get a break. He's going to have to do it again the second time around. But of course, now everybody's seen it happen once. They know the tricks that he's got up his sleeve. And he's got earlier this time. Very different strategy this time around. Putting the hammer down, coming out of the final corner, and he has caught Tim Vaughan absolutely napping. He's got some of that time back because of the slipstream, but it was there. There was enough time there with the slipstream to get him had he been a bit more on the ball, but Ben Miles isn't getting away at all. Shaped up to try and go around the outside into that corner, but that was never going to happen. They now get onto the straight down into the right-hand hairpin. Ben Miles staking this claim early to the inside, saying, if you want to pass me, you're going to have to go around the outside. And he's done it. Tim Vaughan not even needing the corner, just getting a better run out of the corner and able to get the overtake done before they actually make it to the hairpin. And I think Dennis Hancock's had a collision. I just saw him go down 2 positions, and I heard something in my headset which indicated that there had been a bit of contact somewhere in the field. Jamie Christensen now side by side with Ben Miles. Ben Miles might lose 2 positions in the first lap after the restart here. No, he's managed to defend so far. Jamie Christensen now falling down the pack. He's fallen down to 6th place. Oliver Patterson now in 3rd place. Matthew Brunton 4th, and Brody Shepherd into 5th place. Was 14th at the start of the race. He is now in 5th. 9 places gained. So there you go, side by side, Gerard and Grubb. And Gerard looks like he's come out ahead in that battle. And Jamie Christensen, the car behind that, he's fallen further down the order into 9th place. So he's definitely carrying some sort of damage to be falling down the order in 2 distinct matches there. We're now on board with Matthew Gerard. He's at the head of this group, but that stretches from 6th all the way down to 9th. And then you've got 10th and 11th, not far behind them. 10th is Dennis Hancock. 11th is Tyson Hanmar. So we've got Gerard. The silver car behind him is Ryan Grubb. You then got the 2 Vermilion entries of Sean Doyle and Jamie Christensen. Sean Doyle, of course, our feature driver here with Mama Doyle in support.
Now, I'll be interested to see Sean. Like, he led race 1. I would be expecting him to be making some good moves as he jumps up the inside there. Oh, a little bit of wheel-to-wheel action there between him and the other driver. But he does pull out ahead.
Putting a lot of trust into the driver on the outside there. That driver being Ryan Grubb. Hopefully I got that right. I believe it was Ryan Grubb. Put a lot of trust in him. Trusted that he would see him in his mirrors and would get out the way and leave him space on the inside. And to Sean's fairness, it was a late move, it was a bold move, but you saw what he did. He absolutely stuck to that apex on the inside. So Grubb only had to give him the smallest amount of room for that maneuver to work. Both cars got through unscathed, and Sean Doyle takes the position. He's in 8th place, and he has the fastest lap of the race to boot.
And further up the order, we had Brody Shepherd making a convincing overtake on Matthew Brunt as he's moving that gap up to 0.4, heading towards 0.5 of a second.
Yeah, Brody Shepherd in 4th place. Only 4 minutes to go, but don't rule him out of the race for the lead.
Oh, swap
Tim
for
Vaughan
lead
in
there now
2nd
too.
place.
Jamie Christensen, Matthew Gerard swapping as well. And swapping back. Jamie falling down the order now. We'll capture a replay of this and see if we can find out exactly what's happened.
Definitely was going slow on the straight there. So I think he's carrying some damage. It looked like he might have been crabbing a little bit. So I expect to see some contact here between Jamie Christensen and somebody else. Let's go for the move around the outside.
Oh, and it's just a little bit of unsettled from was that Gerard. Oh no, what a shame. That's that's a nasty way to come off the track.
So the thing is, these cars, look at them. Look how low to the ground they run. If these things go over a curb, they really do not like it. Gerard trying to give plenty of space on the outside for Jamie Christensen. Actually just gets up on the curb and it unsettles the car. It walks him wide into Christensen. And Gerard was lucky to get away unscathed. Christensen not so lucky. And now we've got another car off track. I believe this is Ryan Grubb returning to the tarmac. And let's have a look. We'll see what put him in the gravel. Oh, and there's been a spin in front of Jamie Christensen while we're doing that. Showing this as well. I feel it was Dennis Hancock. Oh, Tyson Hanmar spinning off screen. So that's Ryan Grubb just getting 2 wheels onto the grass on the left hand side. Tried to turn in. The wheels on the left had less grip. As he tries to load them up, they give up. They cry no more. Say, I can't do this. I'm sorry. And he ends up spinning. So we just saw an overtake for the lead. Tim Vaughan down the inside of Ben Miles into the hairpin. Job done. And that is the second or third change for the lead that we have seen since the restart. So these guys going absolutely tooth and nail. They've broken free. Brody Shepherd is now in 3rd place. He was in 4th last time we saw him. He's in 3rd. So he's got the move done on Oliver Patterson at some point. He's wrestled the fastest lap from Sean Doran. He is chasing after these two, but he's not got much time to do it. Under 2 minutes left, so he's going to need Vaughan and Miles to really go hammer and tongs if he's going to catch them.
A little bit of info here as well. It looks like cars number 38 and 169, that's Jamie Christensen and Matthew Gerard, has been noted by the stewards, but it's just been deemed a racing incident and some net code, so no penalties there.
Netcode. Didn't see the netcode, but that could explain why the crash was so dramatic. Often what netcode can do, it can cause a crash that's not there, but it can also cause the crash to be more dramatic than you might expect it to be, as it registers a larger force in the contact than you would have actually seen just watching the cars live. So Tim Vaughan defending from Ben Miles. This is going to be the story of the last 2 laps. Can he make it all the way to the end? He's got through Cascade. They're going down Lakeside. This is where the hairpin is. This has been a favoured overtaking opportunity in the first 2 races, but Tim Vaughan defending very, very well there. Ben Miles not really looking for the overtake. I think he's waiting for the last lap, perhaps deciding that with the effect of that toe, first isn't where you want to be. You want to be in second so you can use the toe to get past the car ahead at the right place when there's no more opportunities left. They now go through Hislop's chicane cleanly. Nobody hitting those tie barriers so far, which just shows the respect that the drivers are giving to them in this race. They're now approaching Druid's corner, a fast right-hander just about to occur now. Really difficult corner, really difficult to judge. You want to end up on the outside like Tim Vaughan has there. Don't want to leave any speed on the table there because you've got another straight immediately after that corner. They're now heading through.
And this is going to be our last lap, is that right? Yes, this is Tim Vaughan coming across the line for the win.
I must admit, I thought they had another lap, but that looks like, according to the graphics on screen, just check flag.
It was close. It was close. I think we were within a couple seconds of getting another lap there.
Yes, so Tim Vaughan taking the lead. Ben Miles in second. Brody Shepherd recovers onto the podium. Matthew Brunt in 4th. Oliver Patterson in 5th. Sean Doyle is going to come home in 6th, making up quite a few positions from his starting spots. And let's have a look here. So Brady Shepherd first, Miles in seconds, as we said. Sean Doyle in third, Tim Vaughan in fourth, Patterson in fifth, Hancock in sixth, Hanmer in seventh, Ridley in eighth, Brunt in ninth, and Ryan Grubb in 10th. He will take pole position for our third and final race of the evening. And just hearing word, we're going to have a 3 or 4 minute break before the last race, and we'll take that time to do something very important, and that is to wish Donna Doyle all the best. She's watching from hospital on her birthday. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. Hope you get out of hospital soon, and sending you all our love and best wishes from the ANZ ESeries. So, Mitch,
now,
2 races down.
We saw some netcode from the stewards in that last one. I think we caught that one on stream as well. So I know we have a few people who aren't iRacers in chat. Talk to me about netcode. For those who don't know, what does it mean? Explain it like I'm 5.
Right. So you're driving in your sim rig. You are sending the instructions to iRacing of what you are doing. You know, the steering inputs you're doing, the throttle you're doing, everything that you're using to control the car, that obviously gets sent to iRacing. That takes time. Not much time. It's going at the speed of light. But it does take time. Meanwhile, iRacing, it needs to tell everybody else in the race where your car is. But it doesn't know exactly where your car is because it takes a little bit of time for that instruction to reach iRacing. So what it does is it guesses where your car is going to be in a few milliseconds time. And I do mean milliseconds. Sometimes it gets it wrong because drivers aren't always predictable. So it'll take the average of where it thinks the car's going to end up, and it'll assume that's where it's going to be for the purpose of determining contact. Sometimes it gets it wrong. What that means is what you'll see on screen is 2 cars that actually have a gap between them, because that's where they actually are. However, according to the server, that's not quite where they are. Both cars may be a few millimeters closer than what you can see on the broadcast. And that might register as a collision in iRacing. It tells the driver that's been hit that it's been hit, even though we don't see that on the stream. And so the car gets sent off flying into the barrier or something similar to that, even though, as far as we could tell, there was a bit of a gap, because in reality there was a bit of a gap. But when it guessed where the cars were going to be, it didn't think there was going to be a gap. How does it do that? I assume there's some sort of machine learning involved. I can take a few guesses as to how it does that.
I believe you do have a background in computers, in coding.
I have a background in machine learning, even better. But suffice it to say, it's complex. It's very difficult to do. There's no way of doing it perfectly. iRacing can sometimes get a bit... There are... How do I say this? There are platforms that do it better than iRacing. They've got a better way of doing netcode, and it's less of a problem, but it's not a big problem in iRacing. Sometimes it gets overblown, I think, often by drivers that have come a cropper to it a couple of times. You'll see it maybe once a race, if you're at the most, I would say. I've watched many races where netcode hasn't been a problem. So it's certainly not common, but it can happen, and it is a factor. That's why whenever we see an incident, we do try and consider whether netcode might have played a part, particularly if you see an incident that looks a little bit odd. A car that seemed quite far behind, all of a sudden being run up the gearbox of a car in front, and that car in front getting sent spinning. If you see 2 cars side by side, and it looks like they both know each other there and are following consistent lines, but all of a sudden one car veers off to the side, that's often going to be the result of netcode.
And certainly, anytime you see any cars on track that sort of like blink in and blink out, that can also result in a little bit of that uncertainty that can result in a netcode incident. It's also always very very concerning when you're racing against Blinky Bill and trying to get an overtake done.
Absolutely, and that's due to a phenomenon called ping. So ping is the amount of time it takes to send a ping to the server and back. So how long does it take for an instruction from the driver's computer to get to iRacing and back? Because that is the inbuilt lag in the system. It can't do anything faster than that. That's how long it takes for it to receive input and send input back. So that's how long, roughly, it's having to account for with this netcode. That's the gap between what is reality and what it's predicting. So the higher that ping is, the more netcode's going to be a problem, because the larger period of time it's having to predict the behavior over, rather than being able to see what was actually done by each and every competitor in the race. And what you'll see is when that gets quite extreme, you'll see cars flashing in and out, and that basically means they're on the limit of not being able to drive in the server anymore. And we're about to go green. The getaway, standing start, as always. Ryan Grubb getting a good start. Matthew Gerard coming under pressure immediately from Jamie Christensen, who has at times had the fastest lap and the most pace out of anyone in the field. So look for him to try and get past Matthew Gerard earlier on here. Dennis Hancock is in 4th. Sean Doyle is in 5th, and we'll keep a track of Sean Doyle for you, Donna, as this race progresses. That Grubber has lost the lead already, and it looks like Gerard might lose 2nd place here. He's coming under pressure from one of the Vermilion Motorsports entries. We'll try and get the information as to who is where on screen for you as soon as we can. Just needing to refresh that graphic for you currently. So that is Matthew Gerard in the yellow car. I'm going to take a guess and say that's Dennis Hancock in the Vermilion racing car. So here we go. You can see that graphic in the bottom right of the screen showing you who is who. That's Sean Doyle up into 2nd place. He was in 5th. He's up into 2nd already in this race and looking to chase down Jamie Christensen, who's got a 1.5 second lead. Gerard is in 3rd with Vaughan behind him, and then Grubb at the back of this battle for 1st place.
What big movements from Sean here, looking to make Mama Doyle proud again. 2nd place.
Sean Doyle is a man with no time to wait. He's decided, you know what, I could take a few laps being safe and picking my way up to 2nd eventually. No, I want the win. I want the win. So he has decided, I'm going to go straight up to 2nd on lap 1. And now I'm going to get to the real business of trying to overtake Christensen before he can get too far away from the pack. Lead already 1.5 seconds, so it won't be easy for Doyle, but he's got about as much time as he could give himself to do that with 18 minutes, and so far every race has had a safety car. So if that safety car comes into play currently, that would mean Sean Doyle is only 1 position away from the lead with no time to gain. Look like Gerard certainly could become a cork in the bottle here. He's got Vaughan right behind him. Gerard having a pretty clean... Oh,
a little bit of an upset there. Does that look like a lock of the rear axle maybe going into that corner?
I think you'll find he had the 2 wheels on his left-hand side on the grass, and as he tried to brake, just not having the grip he expected, and that was what was causing the car to get really taily on the braking there. We might bring you a replay of that at some point, but there's a bit too much action on screen right now for us to look away. Gerard trying to take the position from Doyle, not able to break away from Gerard. That toe, I think, helping Gerard stay in contention here, whilst Doyle pulls the 2 of them towards Jamie Christensen slowly but surely, the gap down to 1.4 seconds out front.
So let's have a look at some of the movers in the field so far for this race.
Yeah, and talking about movers, Brody Shepherd now in 4th place. He started the race in... Where did he start the race? Apologies. Trying to find out where he started the race. Started the race 8th. He's up into 4th place.
And it looks like it's a pretty fierce battle here as he's... is he leading this group? No. Yes, yeah, he is. Yeah, he's leading this group right now, and this is just a flock of drivers. What do you call a group of Formula Fords?
A good time. That's what I call it. We got
9. I think I'm counting like 9 drivers in this battle.
Yeah, and there was a car at the back of that battle going really wide there. Brody Shepherd looking actually to pull away. Look at that gap, small gap he's got, and this is going to help him. A move behind him for 5th place. Ben Miles trying to get past Ryan Grubb, manages to get himself side by side, but he will have the inside line. No, he's given up the inside line, going down into Hislop chicane. Grubb able to get the possession back, but what this has done, look at the gap it's built for Brody Shepherd as the car's behind him.
Making a move too on the inside.
Yes, that's Dennis Hancock there trying to defend for Carl Ridley. Carl Ridley in the Vermilion Motorsports car. Dennis Hancock in the orange and black car. And then Matthew Brunt in the silver and red car behind them. So here we go. Carl Ridley looking to shape up for the inside, going into what I believe is Druid's corner. And yeah, Dennis Hancock going wide, giving him plenty of space. Dennis Hancock gets that. And who's that dropping down the positions? That's Jamie Christensen. Jamie Christensen had another incident. He's dropped from the lead down into 13th place.
Alright, let's grab a replay of that one. Alright, so it's Jamie Christensen leading himself at the moment. Oh, a little bit of net code there. He's just jumped out, and it looks like just an unforced error, a little bit of oversteer. We did talk about the danger of those cars in their oversteer earlier.
I think once again, on entry to the corner, he actually had the 2 left wheels on the grass. At least it was like very much on the dust, and he might just have had a little bit less grip there than he was expecting. And who's that dropping down the field? We've had another faller. So Sean Doyle is in 2nd place, and I believe Brody... I can't see Brody Shepherd's name anywhere. He's down in 11th, so Brody Shepherd's fallen down. Sean Doyle is the leader, benefiting from Christensen spinning out and taking the lead then, because he was in 2nd place trying to chase Christensen down. He had Gerard behind him. Gerard's still looking to go with him. The gap below is 2nd. Brody Shepherd was in 4th place, looking to put the pressure on the top 3, but he's had an incident somewhere. We'll try and find footage of that if we can to let you know what's happened there. But now we have a top 3 of Doyle, Gerard, and Miles.
Hey, can we talk about Kyle Ridley right now? This guy has moved up 10 positions. 10 positions.
Oh, yeah, and I apologize. It's Carl Ridley in 3rd place, not Ben Miles. So Carl Ridley now in 3rd. He is a very, very smooth operator. He's had some pace at times here tonight, but not being able to put together the round that he would have wished for. But certainly this final race is going better.
And it looks like now he's just going to defend from Ben Miles for another, oh, I don't know, 14 minutes? But he might be, I think 10 positions, if he can hold on to this, is going to be the biggest movement we've seen from any driver so far tonight.
Yeah, I think you may be right. Often the big move is coming unstuck in the earlier races. Just heard word from race control. There was an incident between Hancock and Matthew Brunt, but that was deemed a racing incident. No further investigation required. It'll be interesting to see what pace Carl Ridley has got in 3rd place and whether he can try and push higher on the podium. 13 minutes left in this race, so plenty of time to do it if he has got the pace. But looks like if he's catching up, he's taking Miles with him. And then look at that in 6th place, Connor Nixon. And then we've heard a few times through the stream, we talked about him being a threat. Then he had that incident and got a drive-through in the last race. Who started at the back of the pack this race. But he has already moved from 14th into 5th position. And he'll be looking to improve from there.
We just talked about Carl Ridley moving up 10, but Connor Nixon is up 9. And so far, he's had a clean race. I think he's made a couple of little moves. Oh, a little bit unsettled there as he comes around the corner. I think maybe keeping it clean and just driving consistently is going to be his key to a good finish here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting also to see if Brody Shepherd and Jamie Christensen can recover. They're in a hammer and tong battle for 11th place at the moment. Less than 2 tenths between them, and it has been that way for at least the last 10 or 15 seconds. So they are, yeah, really going at it for the minor positions currently, both of them with the pace to be higher up the field.
Well, we've just had a change between Ben Miles and Kyle Ridley.
Yes, they
Ben
are.
Miles sending it up on the inside.
So just hearing that there is a redress being ordered for avoidable contact. And I'll try and bring you the drivers involved when I can. But not sure who that is currently, I'll be honest.
Was that for our leaders perhaps? Because we just saw Sean Doyle and Matthew Gerard invert positions there.
I don't think it was. I think that would have been too fast for them to have investigated it and given a verdict already. And that's Sean Doyle going down the inside of Matthew Gerard to take back the lead. I must admit, trying to figure out what was happening with that penalty. I took my eyes off the screen for a moment, and then all of a sudden, Sean Doyle wasn't in the lead anymore. But I put my eyes back on the screen, and he's winning it back immediately. Oh, look at
Gerard going wide.
Speed.
Is that going to be is that maybe a slowdown for him, or just a little off track?
Just a little off track. It's quite forgiving there with the slowdown. If I remember right from the last time I raced this track, pretty much that whole. If you look closely, you can see two colors of green there. One is AstroTurf, and the other bit is grass. And as long as you're just on the AstroTurf, you're fine. And generally, what will happen is you won't get any hurt for that. You'll have just as much grip as you'd expect, and you can carry a lot of speed through there. The one thing I wouldn't do is I wouldn't overtake using that speed. I would be tempted to stay behind the car ahead just to make sure that race control don't have a look at that and see if we've got an unfair advantage. And I'm just hearing that there is no further action between car 882 and 134, and I believe car 882 might actually be 822, which is Dennis Hancock, and car 134, which was Matthew Brunt. So Dennis Hancock ending up at the back of the field, and Dennis and Matthew Brunt in 6th. So evidently, whatever incident it was, sent Hancock with his bags and his tail between his legs down to the bottom of the field.
And Sean Doyle is starting to build up a pretty nice gap to Matthew Gerard here. Would have seen 7/10 as he comes down the main straight. That's got to start feeling good. You know, I mean, this is still within a second, and you're not in a position where you can make any mistakes. But when you start pulling out a gap on the driver that's behind you, I don't know, it starts really starting to affect you. You start thinking to yourself as the driver that's following, what am I doing wrong? What mistakes am I making? Then you start talking to yourself, oh, I've got to drive clean, I've got to drive safe. And once you start getting in your own head, you just start losing time after time after time.
Yeah, you can't afford to second guess what you're doing, either trying to go faster or slow down, because both will result in you going much slower than you in 10. So Sean Doyle deciding to put the hammer down. He's obviously found a nice rhythm with this car, and now Matthew Jarrett's got to figure out how he can go with him. But the thing is, he's got to not start looking for time in corners. He has a maximum lap time that he can achieve based on what he's already figured out in practice qualifying in the first two races. That's what he needs to aim for. He needs to not start looking for new time. Instead, he just needs to try and cut out any small mistakes he's making, because if you start looking for new time in the middle of the race, that is when you end up crashing out. I can absolutely guarantee it. We're now watching Tim Vaughan, who's down in 10th place. He's got Oliver Patterson behind him. Both of these cars appearing towards the front of the field at times. Tim Vaughan, I think, towards the front of the field in 2 of our 3 races, but not having a good third race. He's in 10th position, and that is where he started. So not able to make any impact, and that's with a few other cars having incidents. So I assume at some point Tim Vaughan has come unstuck. And now Carl Ridley with the fastest lap of the race. He's in 3rd place, trying to detach himself from Ben Miles behind. Has got a healthy gap there now, up to almost a second, and he's got just under 3 seconds to the car in front. Matthew Gerard in 2nd place. With 7.5 minutes to go, it's going to be a tough ask for him to get involved in the battle for the lead, but again, as always, don't rule it out. There's enough time that if he really does hammer out some brilliant laps, he can catch up. And once he gets to the toe, which starts taking effect about 1.5 seconds behind the car in front, that lap time will start coming down even further. So if he can use that, sling himself past Gerard, which is easier said than done, he might just be able to threaten Sean Doyle for the lead of the race, but not much time to do it unless he gets a safety car.
Now, I know we talked about that toe being 1.5 seconds, but look at this gap right now between Doyle and Gerard. He's built that gap up, and now Gerard is really going to struggle to keep up. He's outside the toe now.
Yeah, Gerard losing a heap of time in the last lap, so I suspect there's been some sort of medium-sized mistake there. Not enough to put him to really send him off track, but probably a touch of oversteer, a corner where he's carried in a bit too much speed and had to really get back on the brakes to make sure he can make the corner or something like that. Something that's cost him about half a second, I think, must have occurred in the last lap, because that gap has absolutely ballooned out, and that's not what we've seen generally. They've been pretty even pace. It was under a second, and now it's over a second and a half. And that's Matthew Gerard's gone off the track. Matthew Gerard's had an incident. He's falling down the order, down to 6th place behind Matthew Brunt. He's got back on, but let's have a look what's happened. So this is the incident that has promoted Carl Ridley into 2nd place. And Gerard now in a battle with Shepherd. Just trying to turn in with a bit too much speed as he's going over a bump. That bump has, what it's done is it's shifted the weight, and it's taken some of the weight off the wheel, so you've got less grip when you're going over the crest of a bump. And he's tried to turn in at the same time, so he's had less grip than he's wanted. and that's resulted in having a spin. And it was a spin with all 4 tires. It was not just the rears giving way, which is what I'd expect to see, say, if he'd been on the brakes or something like that too heavily at the same time. No, this was an all-car spin, which just meant we're asking too much of the tires, and I think it was because there was a bump as he turned in.
Now, if you're Sean and your nearest rival has just disappeared in your mirrors, you've got to be feeling pretty good as we go into the last 5 minutes of this race.
Oh yeah, 100%. Gerard tried to find some extra time, and it's got him. It's left him battling for 6th place now, but he's got Carl Ridley behind him, who is a very, very dangerous operator.
I don't know if perhaps Gerard was a little bit too shallow coming into that corner to me. Like, he looked like his car was positioned a little bit further over towards the middle of the track as he was going into that corner. So a little bit of sharper angle, a little bit of oversteer as he turns into the corner, and then, you know, what we saw on screen.
Yeah, I definitely think being wide and perhaps turning in a little late may have played its part, because what happens if you turn in from a wider position and at a later period of time, you have to put more steering lock on to hit the apex, and that means you're putting more demand through the tires, and it's when the demand exceeds the available grip is when you cause the car to spin, like we saw. So yeah, might not be surprised if it was a wider entry, and that could explain also the bump. If he hadn't accounted for that bump, it stands to reason that perhaps he hadn't encountered that bump before, and it may be that he was just on a wider part of the racetrack trying to look for some extra time, hit the bump that I didn't know was there, and yes, lost traction, causing him to go off track.
You know, and that's an important part of practicing for these races as well, is it's not just practicing like the optimum line in your racing lines, it's also about trying offline as well, you know, because you need to explore the track, you need to know where the grip is, you know, what features there are. I want to say features, I mean like inconsistencies in the track, little bumps here or there. You know, if you take this inside line on someone, is there a little bump that's going to upset your car? And with cars like the Formula Ford being so light, they do not take the bumps very well at all. One of the things that you'll notice is that none of these drivers are touching the curbs. If you go watch one of the GT3 series, they'll eat them. They'll just mash an inside tire on the curbs all the time. But in a Formula Ford, your curbs are like landmines. You know, you hit one of those and suddenly you're in a lot of trouble.
Because he says that as we just watched Ben Miles going on those curbs. But when Mitch talks about the curbs, he means the curbs with that aren't flat. There's flat curbs, which are basically just painted lines. Of course, the driver's going to be all over them. They're not going to upset the car. But if they have any sort of character to them, if they are not a flat curb, then yeah, it's going to upset the car, because it just lifts those tires off the ground, and these cars do not like that at all. So that's a flat curb on the left-hand side. We'll stay on board and we'll try and show you what we mean by a curb with some character, with some relief to it. When we seal onto that inside curb, that's nice and flat. They'll hit that one there, and in fact, you can see just outside the curb there's a bit of mesh, which means you don't immediately go onto the grass. That's a curb with some relief to it. That curb on the inside is a flat one, so they're going to be all over that. That's a beautiful line from Ben Miles there. Absolutely perfect. I can see why Kyle Ridley is unable to build a gap to him, despite having had multiple laps to do it. That curb on the inside, that's also flat. Not too many raised curbs around here, but the raised curbs are in really crucial areas of the racetrack, and you do not want to touch them, as Mitch suggested. We're heading into the chicane now. Look at how close they get to both of these tyre barriers. Oh, my heart rate just increased by about 10 beats a second, I think. Now they're going to head up the hill, and then you've got a fast right-hander who's going to be in the next corner that they're going to face. Really devilishly tricky is Lodge corner. That corner, that curb on the inside is raised. Not right as you first get onto it, but about halfway into the curb it starts to raise. You do not want to touch that. You saw Ben Miles there, all over other curbs, staying well away from those curbs though. And now they hit the start-finish straight, and that is a lap on board with Ben Miles as he chases down Carl Ridley, and you can see that gap visually closing down over the course of that lap.
I think Ben has been catching up under brakes. That's a lot of where I'm noticing it. Now that he's in the tow, it's going to be really hard hard for him to get away.
Yeah, it is. And I tell you what's going to be even harder, catching Sean Doyle on this. The final lap of the race, Sean Doyle's got a 4.5 second lead. Absolutely dominant in this, the third and final race of the night. We're going to stay with Miles and Carl Ridley because there's an epic battle, but we'll try and cross to see Sean Doyle crossing the line at the end of the lap. There you go, there's Sean Doyle in the distance. So we're going to cut to Sean Doyle. He's just taking the chicane. He's got Lodge Corner to go, Druid's Corner and Lodge Corner to go. So he's approaching Druid's Corner now.
And we still got our eye on that battle down in the bottom right-hand corner. You can see the battle for second between Carl Ridley and Ben Miles. So if anything changes between now and the finish line, we'll cut back to them straight away so we don't miss anything.
Now into Lodge, the final corner of the first round of the ANZ ESeries Formula 4 Championship, and it's Sean Doyle who's going to take the spoils in race 3 of the round. Our
and
final race of the night.
Nice little wiggle from him there too. It's Carl and Ben crossed the line as well. Super close.
Yeah, Ridley holds off Miles for second place. Connor Nixon, he's up 10 spots into 4th. He'll be happy with that. Matthew Brunt's going to come home in 5th. There you go. That's it. That's round 1 of the Formula 4 Championship. All 3 races done and dusted. I'll be honest, I have no idea who's taking the round spoils. 3 races, there's far too many for us to keep track of the final results of all 3. And this is the final result of the feature race. Just confirmation there. Sean Doyle taking a dominant victory. Ridley in 2nd, Miles in 3rd, Connor Nixon up to 4th. Brunt in 5th, Brody recovering up to 6th, Gerard in 7th, Grubb in 8th, Christensen in 9th, and Tim Vaughan in 10th. Patterson in 11th, Hanmer in 12th, Hancock in 13th, Atkinson in 14th, and Orlando Black did not take part. So we're expecting the top 3 drivers to join us for some interviews, and of course they're all already in the waiting room. I think they must have raced to the waiting room. Mitch, I'll bring them in and I'll let you doff the first question to them.
Oh God, I'm first. Hey guys.
First of many.
Oh, we're doing it. I love it.
Yeah, it's a nice big group session here. So we'll start off with Sean. Sean, you have you won 2 of our races tonight, and I believe we either had was it your mum or your nan that was watching?
My mum, mate. She's in hospital.
Yes. So that's huge. Watching from hospital, making sure that she was there to support you the whole time. Mama Doyle.
Mate, she's a massive supporter. She loves it.
That's absolutely great to hear.
If she's still listening right now, is there anything else you wanted to add for her?
Get better, Mum. I'll pick you up next week if you're better.
So, talk me through this last race. You guys, you had a pretty good battle for most of that race there. But at a certain point, somebody disappeared in your mirrors.
That happened a few races tonight, I think. It was quite entertaining. 1 minute there's people behind you, the next they're gone.
I think you had some real clean racing tonight. I don't remember seeing a single mistake, just ice cold the whole time. How much practice did you put in for this series?
Probably 6 laps.
You're more of the arrive and drive style of racing, so you're just casually flexing on everyone here that might have put a bit more practice in. Tell me, is the Formula Ford one of your usual go-tos?
Yeah, love it. One of my favourite cars now.
And before this, did you find yourself racing the Skippies or Formula V, the F3, the F4? Is it normally open wheelers that you prefer to race in?
Yeah, my favourite was the Skippy, but now the races just aren't popular anymore. But I do F4s, F3s, all the open wheelers. Love them.
So right at home in open wheel in this series then?
Yep, love them.
All right.
Great fun racing too.
Oh, we get some great racing here, don't we? Like, it's amazing. Yeah. I love how strong the toe is because it really sort of pulls down the gap between each individual driver.
Yeah, if you're in the tow in these, it's pays to your advantage.
We certainly saw that towards the end of your race there as well, where the moment you got that that sort of 1.5 second gap where that toe really starts to fall off, you really started gapping the driver behind you as well.
Yeah. Once I gapped a bit on Matthew, it sort of just kept pulling away then.
All right, we'll cut over to
All I had to
Kyle.
worry about was Millsy.
Yeah, Mills.
Just had to worry about Millsy and Kyle.
All right, so speaking of Millsy and Kyle, Kyle, second in our feature race. Talk to us. Tell us about your race.
Yeah, I wasn't meant to be here. I was scheduled to do a Formula V race for another league, but unfortunately the session just kept on saying pending and it got delayed. So, well, I should say rescheduled. So, I'll come back. That's why I was 4 laps down in race 2. 13th to 2nd, I'm pretty happy. As you were talking about before, the draft is strong. Once Ben was back in the draft, he was giving me a lot of grief, and one more lap, and I think he would have shown me a wheel.
Yeah, it got really close there in that second last lap. I think I think I saw that gap get down to like maybe 0.2, 0.1 at certain stages. But moving through that chicane towards the back half of the field, you really pulled a few tenths on him, and poor Miles just never really came back from that until you're sort of trying to give him that drag race down that main straight over the finish line.
Well, yeah, I heated my tyres a bit trying to chase down Sean and Matthew, but so once that happened, they were a bit squirrely, a bit more hot than usual, so it allowed him to, each time I made a small mistake, to come back and get that draft and edge closer. Lucky there was no more laps.
Yeah, certainly. So Ben, talk to me. How are you feeling? Third place? Is it this one of the situations where you're happy to be on the podium, or you've sort of got the green envy eyes for second place?
Oh, given he wasn't even meant to start, I guess I'll take second. We'll call that second place. No, but it was close. I think he was faster than me. Just a couple of those little mistakes allowed me to keep pace with him. But second and third's all right. Let's just ignore the fact that I took out half the field in the first race.
Yeah, we'll ignore that completely. Talk to us about that. What happened there?
Ambition over adhesion is what happened there.
Just a little bit of oversteer.
I just got a little bit happy. Yep, a little bit happy.
And was that you that ended up sideways in taking the full front on from?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Christensen.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, I got T-boned.
And miraculously, you got to keep driving.
So I don't know how. I haven't seen the replay, so I don't know how intense that crash was, but it felt pretty big.
It was. Yeah, we watched that one on stream. It was a full T-bone from Christensen, who ended up having to tow all the way back, whereas you got to just keep on driving and come all the way around. And was that a little sneaky fast repair we saw there as well?
Yep, lightning fast.
So it's good to see that we've got. We weren't sure going into this whether or not we had fast repairs or not, but I'm very glad to see that we did.
But for my troubles, 5-second time penalty. So I guess that's the slower repair that I should have done.
Yeah, I think you still got off better than Christensen. I'll.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Would you trade places with him?
No, because I finished 10th in that race, and that allowed me to get the pole for the second race. Yeah. So it worked out alright for me, but congrats to Sean on winning those two. He's my enduro partner as well, so shout out.
All right. So Sean, give me your final thoughts on tonight. You just said I'd say you're leading the championship at this point. I don't have the score sheet in front of me, but I find it hard to imagine that you could win 2 races and not be first.
Oh, look, mate, my motto and Ben's motto, try and just stay on the track, keep it consistent and steady, and positions will come to you. So that's what I'm going to try and do for the rest of the season.
Just keep it clean, tidy, drive smooth, and hopefully lead the championship from start to finish.
Yeah, see how we go.
All right, thank you very much, Sean. Thank you, Ben, and thank you, Kyle. And another big shout out to Donna Doyle, watching from hospital right now. Thanks, gentlemen.
Cheers,
Thanks,
boys.
guys.
All right, so We just heard from the top 3 of our feature race, so we'll just get you up to speed with what's coming your way from the ANZ E-Series for the rest of this week and going into next, and then we will say sayonara. So, what's coming your way tomorrow? Tomorrow night we have the first round of the GR86 Championship. The Toyota GR86 is an incredibly popular car. It's low power, and it's easy to drive, and it produces some incredible racing. You get a nice tow effect. People are able to keep it on the track because it's relatively easy to drive, and it is one of the most popular cars on the server, despite having only been around for a couple of seasons. So we're expecting to see a nice, healthy grid for that. Please join us at the same time tomorrow night to catch the first round of the GRA6s. And then next week on the Wednesday, me and Mitch will be back to bring you the second round of our GT3 Championship. The first round was a cracker. Connor Nixon took the victory in the second and final race of the night in the GT3s last weekend, and we'll wait only 7 more days to find out whether he can do it again in round 2 of the ANZ E-Series GT3 Championship. Until then, my name's Liam Banks. Alongside me and producing has been the phenomenal Mitch. We're wishing you all a very good night, and we'll see you next week.